for almost a year, and having hits in drugs and getting a lot of kids in trouble, and illegally, because you have a tool. They're not supposed to be in the district. It's not legally in the district, and the dog bites somebody. People can sue the district because the dog doesn't belong to the district. The thing is, these two dogs, the district, like one, it was transferred out with the knowledge of anybody, not even the taxpayer. No matter we didn't buy the dog, it was donated to the district, but it's property of the district. Since they donate money every month. I think like a couple last month was $30,000. How you disapprove $30,000 donated to the district and say, no, it was donated? You know what I'm saying? So same with Santi. Santi be working illegally, and I think any kid that be busted with that dog, it should file a lawsuit against the district because they're having a dog illegally working for the district. So the district cannot prove me something different. They'll know it was brought legally back, and that's what we started seeing open records to educate the people inform the people that this is going on. But most affecting a lot of kids because the dog is not supposed to be working for the district because they retired the dog in October 2003.
So what's your, Mr. Gutierrez, what's your opinion on that?
Well, I think they need to be, every person or officer or official has to have proper placement. And you do that, through proper means of election or proper means of appointment. And if you're using a dog to affect the force of law against somebody, or you're using them as a tool to basically affect a criminal matter against someone, they need to be properly positioned. That means they have to be, any person, a private citizen, should be able to come in there and get access through public records to the training regimen of the dog, its competency, and what its percentage rate is of correct hits, and paperwork showing that it's documenting the actual positioning of the dog with the district. And if that's not available, then absolutely the dog does not have any proper positioning within the district, and anything it does is void ab initio. Everything it does, when it affects something negatively against somebody, it's a gross fraud. So for sure, you want to bring a federal lawsuit for violating their Fourth Amendment rights. So, yeah, they're definitely, the parents are going to do that, but you got to comply with the statute of limitations. You've got to recognize that.
So my question for you is like, this is all police officers, right? From the state of Texas, they certify as a peace officer here in the state of Texas.
Correct.
So if I'm the canine handler of this dog, and I know in the fact the dog was retired in October, and I'm the canine handler, I should not be using the dog because I know the law.
Correct.
I'd be like breaking the law.
Absolutely.
And I cannot claim later, I didn't know. Same with the chief of police. He know the dog was retired and put it to work in the district. He says, no, we cannot do that. So any police or ranking or what is the chain of command of that police department should say something.
Exactly. They have a duty.
We cannot do this because the dog doesn't belong to us. But now the taxpayer have been paying the vet,
the maintenance and care for the animal,
for the dog, and including food, and this is taxpayer money.
No, that should be refunded. Whoever's been caring for that dog needs to refund that money.
No, I'm more concerned who's signing it.
Who's
signing the check to pay, knowing, because I know the UISD police department has its budget.
Correct.
So somebody had to buy. Take away. That's what the reason I think they don't want to release the documents, because it will be a bigger problem to prove that you guys been doing something illegally affecting civil rights of the kids, legal search and seizures of the kids, and clear. Punish the kids.
Yeah, and there's always a chain of authority. When somebody writes a check, they don't just do it sua sponte with their own authority. They do it with at the direction of somebody else. So whoever signed the check, somebody gave them permission to sign that check, and there's authorization forms for the issuance of any check with any governmental agency. So whoever signed that check, you can go back to actually oversees the signing of the checks and who authorizes payment. And from there, you can find out who told them. But see, that that should be a matter of public record because there is a, as you stated, I think simply put, there's a chain of command. And we, the people, expect through that chain of command, we expect competency, we expect thoroughness, and we expect compliance with what we want. We don't want to be defrauded out of our tax dollars.
So here in Laredo, right, the United ISD, most of they make, I guess, all the executive directors to go to the board meeting.
Okay.
So they all witnesses when the dog was retired. So if they do the budget for for the next year, right? And if they know this dog will retire because they know how they accommodate money for the taxpayer to pay for the dogs.
That's a good question.
Because it gets because they have to send the budget to the state to TEA. Right. So that document is a lie or fraudulent document or is I don't know.
Well, until you have the documents, you don't know.
Exactly.
So that's why. Remember, this is people usually want to hide things when they've got liability. Okay?
Mm-hmm.
If you want to be a superstar, you want everybody to know you're a superstar. But when you're doing something that you could be held liable for misconduct, you want to hide that. So that could be what's going on.
The thing is, we'll be asking questions, and the district is refusing to investigate the chief of police and what happened and come clear to the people. So if we keep making comments about it, it's because the district is refusing to come up clean and say this is what happened.
Okay, well, you've got other options. This seems to be a growing epidemic amongst government workers throughout the entire United States. Is that they keep avoiding being transparent. They keep avoiding, complying with the First Amendment, which is the redress of grievances. So if people that swore to us through their oath that they will support and defend the constitutions in the performance of their duties, so help them God, whatever position it is, when they fail to do that, then there's several things we can do. Number one, we can conduct an investigation against them through public records. And if they're going to withhold those public records, then we can actually file a lawsuit against them to get them. We don't need anybody's permission. We have the right to redress our government. That's protected by the First Amendment. Okay? We've got the right to equal protection of the law and to be free from retaliation and harassment when we do that. That's the 14th Amendment. So when these people, and they are people, I want to make a point here is people say, oh, the government, oh, the board, oh, this. No, those things are basically corporate fictions, which means they don't have brains, they don't have minds, they don't have voices. It's when they take official capacity, it's a person that holds liability. They have responsibility to do a job. They have limited delegated authority from the people to perform those certain duties, but they have liability if they engage in misconduct or negligence. So what we can do is proceed, if they are being negligent or acting with misconduct, we can sue them. We can sue them to get the records. We can sue them in court. We can go to court and bring a lawsuit against them because we want these things. And I'm going to tell you, you get 5 or 10 of these going because they're actually avoiding contact with the people and being transparent. That liability grows into a huge nightmare for the county, because the county, when it involves a school district, they're the ones that hold ultimate liability because they're responsible for overseeing to our favor. They're responsible to us to make sure that the people that are functioning under them, under their supervisory capacity, in accordance with the law. And it all boils down to the Constitution. Okay? So, and the laws have to be in compliance with that. So if they're not doing it, then go to the court, sue them. A lawsuit's not that hard, and as a pro se, it doesn't have to be perfect. But you just have good causes of action and good evidence as exhibits to support your cause of action. Yeah. So anyway.
So the information that I just gave you, do you think this look like it's a cover-up? The appearance is covered up?
I'm going to say when they avoid transparency, when they're hiding things, there's obviously something going on.
So another question for you, that we the people, the taxpayers, do we have the right and go talk to the chief of police, ask questions?
Absolutely. because they serve us.
Now, if he doesn't want to answer, like this was going on, like he hides, I guess. He can accuse about we harassing him because we went 3 times to go look for him, you know, and another time we couldn't find him. We tried to get an appointment with him, and he just like same. We had an appointment today with the superintendent, and he changed it for 2 o'clock, and then he canceled it completely at 4 o'clock.
Okay,
I think that's a very good question, but I'm gonna let you answer this, and then I'm gonna make a comment on an interaction I had yesterday with him.
Okay, what I'm going to say is that remember this is that private citizens who step into public capacity, right?
Yes.
They serve as public functionaries, whatever their job title is. As soon as they are on the clock, they're assuming everything else is right. They've got their oath right, their training right, everything else, their proper appointment or election to the position. Once they are in that official capacity, it's not 24/7, it's 8 to 5 or whenever they're on duty. Well, when they're in that official capacity, we can approach them. And one of the things we want to know, and I've done this, I did this in a lawsuit. I asked for the daily schedule of a particular public official, actually 3 public officials for the previous 90 days. I want to know where they are, because we, when the people, want to make sure they're in their public capacity, when they're in their official capacity, are working and earning their keep in that capacity. So we went ahead and did a public records request, and we pulled up their schedule for the previous 90 days, and we found out that some very amazing things, that they were on the clock shopping, for birthday parties. They were, one of them was at the horse track betting on the horses while he was on the clock.
Or with the Sancha.
Yeah, exactly. Well, that's true too. I mean, a bunch of things just came out of Florida the last 2 years where they started tracking certain public officials, and they found one particular police officer on a regular basis was being paid for 2 jobs, and he was 80 miles away at a horse track. And he finally got busted and says, "Hey, I'm sorry. It was just I'm addicted, but I can get better." You know what? Well, the reality is, and this is something I want everybody to be aware of, if anybody's listening to this, we hold our public officials to a higher standard, not a lower standard, because we're paying them. They swore an oath to us. They swore that oath to us. And so when they fail, they should be punished for that lie, for that felony perjury, at a higher level of punishment. And this is a huge problem we have with a lot of the prosecuting attorneys, because they work directly with the peace officers. I don't call them law enforcement because that doesn't exist. That's a fabricated term from like 40, 50 years ago. When you check anybody who gets licensed in any state as a peace officer, a police officer, sheriff's deputy, state here it's DPS or state patrolman, they get licensed with the state as a peace officer, level 1, 2, or 3, or whatever their designations are, or a jailer or corrections officer, which you know about that, 1, 2, or 3.
I have another question.
Yeah.
If we bring this to the state about they can take away the status of police officer,
you can actually make a complaint and have their license revoked, which is something that should be requested in the lawsuits or even outside the lawsuits. You got a lot of these people that are mentally deformed and defective that have a history of violence or lying or other misconduct, which basically these things are generally criminal. You can actually petition to have their license revoked.
If I show the proof, hey, this happened,
Yeah, you may have to do it in court. I don't know what it is in Texas, but yeah, you can petition to have their license revoked. It's like a beautician. See, they're regulated. Their license is regulated. A beautician, if they get too many complaints, whatever the agency within the state that oversees it, I think it's part of the state AG's office, they can actually conduct an independent review and have their license revoked. And there's got to be something similar to that here in the state of Texas, as it is in every state in the union. And people don't know this. This is stuff they hide. It is absolutely hidden. So anyway, these people, as I was saying, is that they have a duty to perform their limited delegated authority that we, the people, grant them in accordance with the laws. And so these peace officers, this is my point I was going to make, when they violate the law, these prosecuting attorneys need to get off their dead ass and stop treating them like they're special friends and say, no, you are held to a higher standard. I mean, we've all seen cases where people have been murdered or been beaten to being crippled for life or handicapped, and the judges go, well, the prosecutors say, well, we're not going to prosecute him. We're going to charge him rather than with first-degree felony assault or attempted murder. We're going to charge him with, like malicious. What is it? I don't remember what it is here. I'm trying to stay on point here with Texas, but I want to say it's like intent to do great bodily harm, less than murder, or they'll say, I'm just going to charge him with third-degree battery. Third-degree battery, Jesus, you hit the guy in the head with a metal flashlight 8 times. You caved in his skull. He's got a titanium plate in his head. And you're criminally going to charge. Yeah, but he won his lawsuit for excessive force and he got, $2.8 million. So why should we punish him twice? That's civil liability, not criminal liability. The criminal part is criminal. It's just that. He acted in a criminal fashion, caused this guy severe damage. We, the people, through our prosecuting attorney's offices, should hold these people to a higher standard.
And going to that point you just made, the difference differentiating civil liability from criminal liability. There's in the Texas Open Meetings Act, we can sue them civilly, but we can also bring charges criminally because it is also a class,
governmental oppression. It has to be some specific person. You can do it. Yeah.
It is also a Class C misdemeanor for violating the Open Meetings Act and also the Texas Public Information Act, which I already sued one of the board members civilly, but I already also went with the district attorney so he could file criminal charges, which he's delaying the process.
In most places you can actually, if they fail to act within a reasonable amount of time. Now remember this, no matter when you're talking about criminal action, depending upon what level of crime it is, being the lowest level misdemeanor, fine only, all the way up to, in Texas you got misdemeanor B and A, which call for higher levels of jail time and fines, and then you get into the felonies. In these type of cases, let's see if I lost my point there. You actually have to see what their conduct is and what they're liable for. So you actually have to see what it is. And if they aren't going to, if the district attorney's not going to do what he's supposed to do, this is my point, you can actually bring, in most states, you can bring an action called a petition for a writ of mandamus or something similar to that. You can go to a medium level court. You can file the lawsuit and sue the district attorney's office to act. And the court will order them to bring the charges. And you hear a lot of lies. This is why you validate and verify everything. But you hear a lot of lies about, don't lose your thought. I'll finish this up right now. You hear a lot of lies about, the prosecution has great discretion in what they're going to prosecute. No, they don't. They have limited discretion and they have to apply the law equally. So that's what you do. And there's also the ethical relativities of the bar associations, ethical standards, and so on. But anyway, our public servants need to be held to a higher standard. So when they commit these crimes, they need to be punished at a higher level. Right. Okay, but anyway, that's my opinion.
I was just going to say, to clarify what the writ of mandamus does, or the petition for a writ of mandamus is generally you're asking a higher court to revise or to look at something that a lower court or a government body or governmental body is doing or failing to do.
Right. It's tied generally to a specific instance. It's called a petition for writ of mandamus. And when you file the petition, the other side, because it's a civil action, the other side gets so much time to respond after you make your filing. You got to pay a filing fee and all that. Then their side gets to respond, within so many days, generally right around 2021. And then you've got, usually 12 to 18 days to file your reply. Then you go through the court process of any other reasonable discovery or anything relevant to the petition. And when they grant your petition, then it becomes a writ of mandamus. It's a petition. You're asking the court to do something, and then it becomes a writ when it's granted. It's called a writ of mandamus. Some of the great writs.
It's kind of weird because after I spoke in the board meeting, it's unfair that it's been going on for a little while already. You speak, then you done speaking, and here comes the lawyer and try to rebuttal what you're saying. You know what I'm saying? So the lawyer's there to be the what is it,
The voice,
not the voice of the board, but it's supposed to be advising the board, not
right? Not
speaking,
speaking
not
as an
speaking
independent
as independent
or a
to
member of the board.
or member of the board.
I agree.
So he has a function, but here lately is he's the one doing
Well,
the sidearms.
For example, yesterday he was acting as a board member. He was giving directions to the public. He
exactly.
was telling the public they should move, and he already advised them 3 times to move. He's not a board member.
He's
He
not elected official anyway.
Yeah.
We paying the.
You're paying
So
them millions, seven
did
figures.
we have the right to go to his office and try to talk to him?
Absolutely.
Right, because it's getting taxpayer money, right?
well,
he's working for the district.
He's counsel for the board, so you have full authority to contact him.
Now the new rule that was passed last night, the new policy they want to implement to the public, parents and taxpayer, about no recording. Now they're going to extend it all the way to the people that do business with the district, the contractors. You can talk to the contractor now anyway. I think they're overreaching their power.
They are. I think that you're actually, Victor, I'm very impressed. I mean, you've actually got a good handle of all this. You've got a great understanding, some great information and evidence, and I think you just need some direction on how to apply it to actually start getting these people to function as public servants, because they have forgotten who and what they are. They have not been granted godhood. They are public servants to do something to ensure that the children get a proper education that allows them to function in life, not being a conformist, but actually being somebody that employs their brains, their creative abilities to make this country better. But you look at how these people function, I don't think they're that way, because even the way they're talking to the adults is a little alarming. They're, no, you're not over there. If you're not over there in the timeout area for video recording, then you're going to have to be removed. Well, and the attorneys have been negligent too. They need to advise these people what due process is and give people reasonable notice before they implement something. They need to test the constitutionality of it, which I don't think that they did. They definitely didn't examine the legislative intent and switching more over to what you talked about, recording the kids and the students, something like that. I agree that there should be guidelines in place to make sure that the children are protected. But I think that the teachers, and I thought, first thing I thought about it, I think about scenarios that could demonstrate that the policy is overbroad or vague. And I thought, what if you're going in to talk to the principal or the nurse or somebody as a parent with your child? Are you going to tell that parent that they do not have the authority to record that interaction? I'm going to say that absolutely they can. And if you try to prevent them from doing that, because that's where we get into the he said, she said stuff, which you try to avoid when you go to court, you want factual statements. That's why they rely so heavily on video recordings, because, I've seen this happen a lot, where people have said, are you going to believe your lying eyes through what the video shows you? Or are you going to believe me because I hold this position or title? This is who I am. Well, I'm going to believe the video. And so the parent should have the authority to do that. But they're restricting them from doing that. If what do you do if the security cameras are down and you've got a situation, which a lot of this is going on around the country, where teachers are sexually assaulting or physically assaulting the kids? You're in a position where you're going to be recording them doing this. See, I've talked to parents that had that happen.
But also it becomes part of a lawsuit. How are you going to prove that the teacher or the
There you
administrator or the secretary told you something, you don't have it on documented? So you have, like me, if I go to the district, I'm gonna have a camera, because I know they be retaliating on me and
Well, people that are activists and vocal, they usually retaliate against. They target them.
What do you think? Out of the 9 arrests I've had, I've never been convicted because I have.
You've never been.
You have a
trial.
camera.
I have documented every single
Exactly.
incident.
Exactly.
Yeah, you haven't even been to trial.
So we encourage people to do that, but now the district, they don't want people to record. I don't know what they're hiding, but now my point is how they implement a policy where we don't work for the district to apply to us, the citizens and the taxpayer.
Well, okay, again, that
And it's not a
policy,
law. It's not a law.
it's not a law, it's a policy.
It's a policy.
And even, you listen to these, the board members and the attorney talking about, well, oh, this other district doing it. Many other districts are doing it. When you're a kid, how many times did your parents tell you, if all your friends go jump off a cliff, would you do that too?
Exactly.
It's the same kind
No,
of
but I
thought
don't,
process.
when they say they said it last night, I don't believe them, because you cannot tell me the district name or the district, more than one. For me, you're lying.
Yeah,
You're lying, because if they're a lawyer, they're supposed to talk with facts. You know, when they talk about, when they put in an agenda in that paper, they should write everything. Why they're reasoning? Well, it says it. They're reasoning about this. There's nothing there. You know, so people can double check. They might think nobody checks, but I check. I go check and I look at it. But
Good for you.
Going back again, why they made a policy to apply that people doesn't work for the district? Because now, if you go, they supposedly they can arrest you now. So how authority the USD police had to arrest you? Now, if they call the local police,
if you do what?
if you go and record them, or they call the local police, like OPD, to go arrest you. So what kind of law they're going to be enforcing the local police? A policy?
They can't.
Now you're going to get banned to go to the school because you violated a policy that doesn't apply to you because you're a citizen. You don't work for the district.
You're right. You're absolutely correct. And
So they're
can't.
overreaching, basically.
They are. They're
And
actually.
so they're making people believe they're right. They make believe the board vote for something that is not true. You can't. You're overreaching. No matter what the good intent that you have, or how you can justify, like this last night, like they were saying about everybody would know where the cameras are located and all these things. But people doesn't go do those things,
Right. Correct. And they're legislating is what they're doing.
Exactly. But if you're a lawyer, they be paying you. I want you to talk to me like, with facts.
Yeah, absolutely.
Don't tell me a parent told me. Don't tell me the committee. Don't tell me, no, give me names that we can verify.
Right.
That's the reason we go to the board meeting.
Yeah, you want that type of that factual accountability of conduct.
Exactly. Now, if you're going to bang me for going because I record somebody that I'm recording in the performance of their duty, and everybody that has a position UID is the subject matter expert in that position. Right. If I'm going to talk to the police, supposed to know everything about the district. And he says it's expected. It's expected that somebody's going to talk to him. But now he's going to hide inside the school because now we cannot go inside the school and record.
If this is sometimes how it works. There's two ways you can challenge this. You can challenge that policy on its face if you are exposed to it and are aware of it. You can also challenge it if you're affected by it. If say you're in the recording and they come in and arrest you, then then they've got an obligation to respond to how their conduct was constitutionally compliant versus saying, oh, this was our policy. Well, if your policy isn't constitutionally compliant, or it's contrary or in question, it's vague and overbroad, then they can't enforce anything. Then the court will order them to change it, or the court will file an injunction or make its own injunction, or you can file, as you mentioned earlier, you can file an injunction against them to prevent them from continuing on with this.
Of course.
Until the court. Matter of fact, if you file a lawsuit, right, I'm just going to say right now, you can incorporate an injunction into that filing, into that lawsuit, and have the court enjoin them from continuing with that policy until the court makes a ruling, which means that policy is dead forever. How long it takes the court to rule on it, just figure it's going to take probably 2 to 4 years, which means they can't enforce that.
The attorneys, specifically Troutman, said, I am very, very confident that this is not unconstitutional.
Based on what? Now imagine this. You've been into court a bunch of times, and if you've tried this, I don't know your experience, Victor, but I could only imagine if I walked into court or somebody I was working with walked into court and said, Your Honor, I'm very, very confident that what I did was correct. It was constitutionally compliant.
But the thing is, who's in the pay all this thing is us, the taxpayer. We have to pay him.
No. That's a misrepresentation because, when there's a lawsuit that's initiated, there's two things that happen. These public entities have a slush fund of money sitting there to to protect them for the initial parts of a lawsuit. So you may say it's the taxpayers' money, and indirectly it might be, but they've already got a fund sitting there. These people are hoarders. Everything they do, and I'm telling you what, if you think I'm lying, and if anybody who's listening is a teacher or anything, I'm going to tell you this: if you don't do your job for free, do it for free for 2 years, then you're a hypocrite and a liar because you're doing it for the money. And all these people do it for the money. They do it for their benefits. They do it for their retirements because they're too stupid to function in the public circle or the private sector. So they do it in a public forum because they don't have what it takes to function in the private sector. Plain and simple. So when they say all these things, it's an absolute lie. Absolute lie. So anyway, I kind of trailed off and lost my point there, but.
So we already covered the initial part, which was the Open Meetings Act, Chapter 551.023.
Right.
We already covered that, which is, I mean,
Read A and C,
we pretty
and
much
then
covered
read
it.
B. The way to read that, read A and C and then B.
So now we were going over the policy that they implemented, and
Which part? Go ahead.
Let's watch the video when they came back from the.
You know something funny? They voted for something when not implementation day, like for 30 days for now. You know,
Right.
They implemented something without having a public hearing. People
Yeah,
can't express themselves and say, "Hey, I don't like what you're saying." Because last night, about 9 of us went over there and spoke against it. I didn't see anybody coming. Hey, they do it, because I know they're afraid to be recorded, but they forgot they're public officials. They were elected. You can take. They understand when you're a public official, you're elected. You're 24/7.
Well,
See or no?
I'm going to say that when they're in their private capacity and in a public place where they can be seen, then you can record them. But when they're private,
No, in the house, no. But I'm
their
talking
house,
about
yard.
when
they're out in the public
in the
areas,
public, yes.
Yeah,
like
you
you
can
want to
record
talk
them.
to your board member. He's buying something in this store. You can, hey, come on, I need to talk
Tesco?
to you. I don't want to say name of the store, but
You can approach them, but
Yeah.
they can also say no because I'm not at work.
The-
Come
the-
talk to me at work.
Wait,
no,
remember,
our board members don't have a office that you can go talk to them.
but remember that words have a meaning, and Turner versus Driver says you can record public officials during their official duties.
In the performance of their
In the performance of their
official
official duties.
time and situation concerns apply.
Correct. So I forgot to turn my mic on before.
They may have heard it through one of our mics.
Far away from the
So I was saying that we pretty much covered the Chapter 551.02 section, which covers not the
Recording in
restriction,
public
but
record.
recording inside a
Open meeting.
open meeting
Correct.
under the Open Meetings Act. Now we were talking about the policy they just implemented, and let's watch the.
About the school?
Correct. Let's watch the video when they come back after the closed session. I'm sorry.
close.
posted agenda.
I'm not getting any comments, am I?
No, no, no.
You don't even know.
Yes, the recommendation is to
You
allow
would tell
legal
me, right?
counsel to proceed as discussed in closed session.
Motion to approve.
I think
Motion and a second, further
I
discussion.
can hear the mic,
Those in favor, aye.
but not.
Those opposed, none opposed, motion passes. Agenda item 9D, possible action regarding the completion of construction of Juan Ramirez Middle School located at 402 Acero Boulevard and Acero Boulevard and related easement issues and reimbursement obligations arising under the original purchase and sale agreement executed in connection with the purchase of the one-half undivided interest in the property over which the extension of Acero Boulevard runs.
Yes, the recommendation is to allow legal counsel to proceed as discussed in closed session.
Second. Motion and a second. Any further discussion? Principal and director. So now all positions will go for board approval, which include assistant principal, associate principal, principal, dean, and director.
Motion for approval.
Second.
Second.
Motion and a second. Any further discussion? All those in favor, aye.
Aye.
All those opposed, none opposed, motion passes. Agenda item 9B, possible action regarding revisions to board policy GKA, local community relations, conduct, and school premises. Yes, Mr. President, as Superintendent of United ISD, I want to address the need to safeguard our employees and students from unauthorized video recording on district property. To enhance security and privacy, I do propose a revision to board policy GKA, community relations, conduct on school premises. The revised policy will prohibit unauthorized audio and visual recordings of students or district employees on district property during regular school or business hours. This restriction will not apply to photography or recordings taken at public or school-related activities. Additionally, media representatives will be required to obtain permission from the district's communications department before interacting with staff or students on district property. This policy revision is essential to ensure a safe and secure environment for our school community.
Yes, I would also like to chime in. There was a lot of, comments about the legalities of this proposed revision of policy. And the Texas Education Code vests the right and title to both real and personal property to the district's Board of Trustees. When you are a property owner, you have the right to institute rules. There are many political subdivisions, government agencies across the country that institute rules on their property. For example, the federal courthouse downtown, I cannot get past the foyer area without checking in my cell phone with the guards. I have to leave my cell phone behind. The Webb County Justice Center, you have to go through metal detectors. Even our own facilities for public use, we have time and hour restrictions like at Cougar Field for the public to use. The White House, you don't have unfettered access to go and take pictures wherever you want. So I'm very, very confident that this policy is legal, and I would recommend that the board approve it.
And when you have any questions, we're available.
No, just like, as mentioned, we're not the only school district that is doing this.
No, that's correct. We
Window.
actually, the model language for this actually did come from the Texas Association of School Boards, policy consultant. So they base their language on what other districts are doing across the state, and it's a local policy, so that language again is adopted by the board.
Okay.
And just to be fair, even in this meeting right now today, we're not telling anyone you can't record.
That's
You
correct.
cannot take pictures. As a matter of fact, there is recordings as we speak right now, and there are people taking pictures as we speak right now. It's just in designated areas. So no one's rights are being violated, correct?
I would agree with that. Yes, there is reasonable rules in place. Unauthorized recording can be distinguished from, for example, recording a police
Are they
officer
their own judge
conducting
and jury?
a stop in a public roadway that the case law has gone over situations like that, as opposed to, as Mr. Troutman mentioned, you, as the board, control property, being the district, just like a private property owner does. So the notion that the district owns public property only because it's funded by taxpayer dollars is inaccurate.
And there's plenty of case law that we have found that supports this position.
You can record somebody being arrested, but you can't go inside the jail and start recording people who have been arrested, you know, even though it's paid for by tax dollars, public, taxpayers. There has to be some, you know, in this meeting, there has to be some decorum. I'm quite surprised. We've always maintained, you know, good behavior in this setting, and I'm shocked at what we've been seeing lately. It's kind of getting out of control. People yelling from the audience and coming up to us and, you know, recording us at close range. Employees saying that they feel uncomfortable, they feel threatened. I think this is just to provide order. There has to be order. We can't have people, you know, screaming from the audience. It's not appropriate for this setting.
We have to maintain professionalism.
I agree with that, and also, in today's day and age, recording devices, and we've made these arguments to the Attorney General, they're able to record vulnerabilities of district buildings, they're able to record where security devices, security cameras are located, and because of those security and safety concerns, you know, this policy does address also those situations of unauthorized recordings that can frankly expose the district's vulnerabilities to some of its buildings, which would be, we don't want that.
Yeah, it's for safety reasons. I mean, we're recording right now.
Right.
The district is recording. The district is live right now.
The district live streams this in high definition with audio on YouTube, so members of the public are able to
I think we mentioned even if you do a White House tour, there's certain parts of the White House that you cannot record. You can't even go in. They're restricted areas. Yet the taxpayer pays for the facility, for the upkeep for the facility, but there has to be security. And these are the guidelines that we feel are going to be set in place to protect our employees. Our employees are feeling threatened, basically.
And at the end of the day, we have to protect our employees, our teachers, we have to protect our children. We can't have anyone recording our children like that. Sure, there's gonna be some exceptions, like you said, pep rallies and whatnot, but events, like before the meeting, you know, recognitions, but once this meeting starts, there's a designated area you can continue to record and you can continue to call the pictures that you need. We're not violating anyone's rights.
And it was mentioned, you know, earlier about First Amendment, freedom of speech, freedom of press. You know, that's not being taken away. You know, they have a designated area, and that's the reason we're doing this. There's nothing else, just for safety reasons, and also the harassment on our employees. It is a harassment. You know, they come to work. Their vacations is to work and do their duties. They don't have to answer to anybody. You know, I think their supervisors are there, or address it to administration. We have administration, open records. They can deal with that. And we have our attorneys as well that are always doing a great job and putting everything together and make sure that we're doing the right thing and doing what's fair. So I thank you guys for that, and just for the public to know that we're not denying anybody. We're here to the left, and everybody's welcome at UISD.
I mean, our camera's even further back than they are. And certainly, we're not restricting anyone's freedom of speech. They still have a right to public comment. There's rules to that, just like we have to post an agenda within a certain time frame prior to the meeting. There has to be rules. I think that's what this is all about: security and maintaining order, professionalism, as Michelle mentioned. Sorry, I forgot your last name. Molina, Ms. Molina.
All right, guys, any further discussion?
Thank you.
All those in favor? Aye.
Aye.
All those opposed? None opposed, motion passes. Thank you, Mr. Troutman, Mr. Garcia. Agenda item,
Oh, I'm up. That's very interesting commentary. I don't think they want to. I mean, the one peace officer there that was sitting there at the end speaking says, "Our employees." When did you acquire the authority of ownership over other people in their official capacities? I think that's a stupid statement. It's irresponsible because these people are not yours in any way, shape, or form. The other thing I noticed that was kind of interesting is that that one lady that was speaking saying, "Oh, let's talk about location," and we talk about different types of offices and areas. They talk about the White House. The White House has areas that are secure and off limits to the people, and you can't record in those areas, but you can record in the public areas. And most every building has it. And the one attorney talked about the courts. Yeah, in the federal courts, yeah, you have to leave your cell phones there because the things that they deal with are a little more impacting and delicate. But still, when you walk into the main lobby area, you do not have to relinquish your phone. And I think you know that. And we're talking about the school, not talking about in a secure area, talking about recording in certain areas what you can and can't do and what the limits of your authority are. You guys don't have the authority to make these decisions. You're one of the things I mentioned was, let's see here. The attorney said, "I'm very confident." Based on what? You're very confident that this is constitutional and constitutionally compliant, but how did you investigate that? Where's the report that you made to demonstrate that this would be arguable in a court of law, that your position is absolutely valid and without opposition, or you have judicial support? You have nothing but your opinion, and they're like armpits, and you always run into a few that stink, and that one stunk. And let's see here. So, this is a very weak conversation. The one gal here, what did I want to say about what she said? Do you have any proof that you said, we're being yelled at and we're being threatened? These cameras, we feel. Well, your feelings, absent a direct action on the part of somebody else who's actually acting in an aggressive manner, means nothing. It does not constitute a crime. It does not constitute a threat or harassment. It's a misperception or a misunderstanding on the part of your person or these people, unless there is a real threat. And if there was, I would agree with you. But if there isn't, then to make a blanket statement and a blanket policy that would implicate their ability to be able to exercise their constitutionally protected right is improper. It's improperly founded. And you say people are being threatened, but you say it without any foundation.
And the other board member also said that harassing the employees
Without foundation.
And remember that words have a meaning, and harassing has to meet different elements in order to become a harassment. And a public official cannot be harassed while performing their official duties.
When they are just simply being observed.
Exactly, and being questioned.
Yeah, and there's got to be something more. There's got to be something more than just a feeling, or absent any kind of direct act or statement from somebody else that actually could be inferred or interpreted as a threat or harassment. Then you don't have anything, and you people are actually pretty sorry. The comparisons you make regarding like jails and so on like that. Are you implying that the school is similar to a jail? I would agree with you if you said that it was. I think that your intention is to run the school as a jail.
As a jail, yeah.
You don't want to be observed. You want to be able to get away with certain things, and what might that be? And again, you are violating people's personal rights. You haven't tested this in court, regardless of what the the association school board nationally that you made reference to, which I'm not familiar with. I don't care what they think. Show me the case law. Show me the court cases that have been tested up through the appellate level, and let's see if the courts hold the same opinion. Let's see if a jury holds the same opinion. You offer nothing. There is nothing here foundational to support your claims. This is rhetoric. It's garbage. It's immature. It's irresponsible, and it's negligent.
Also, she was saying, or both of them were saying, Molina and the other lady, I forgot her name, Ontiveros. She said that we have to be professional. And no, we don't. We do not have to be professional.
Bravo.
We have the right to criticize them in any way we feel.
Yeah.
Yes.
Introduce.
Mr. Vasquez, you want to say something?
No.
Oh, he transitioned.
I'm over here. Yes, so hi.
You want to
good
introduce
evening.
yourself?
Yes, so my name's Danielle Dianely Martinez. Which one's the camera? I know sitting. This one, okay. Most of you all know me. I was earlier today at City Council, advocating for my community for a zone change that was gonna affect the students at San Isidro Elementary. If you don't know me, my name's Danielle Dianely Martinez, and I'm running for UISD Board of Trustees District 7. And so, going off your comment, right, on how, and Ismael is running for District 1, right? Yes, and we're all about transparency, okay, guys? So saying on what you were saying, she did say that we've been screaming and we haven't been professional and screaming from the audience. I've been to the meetings. We've never done that. If anything, in October of last year, I believe it was October, when there was a whole incident with Muller Elementary, that there was a little girl, an elementary student from Muller, who had a poster, okay? Had a poster that said, Muller kids don't want any more warehouses, okay? She was using her freedom of speech, right? That was her way of expressing what she wanted and to advocate for her friends. And what happened? A sergeant, a police officer comes and rips the board away from her. That's
Lawsuit.
the only time that, of course, as a mom and as a taxpayer and a parent, yes, we got upset. Why? Because their staff, their high level ranking are the ones not showing professionalism. You know what I mean? So for them to be saying that they feel threatened, ay no, mijita, conmigo no. O sea, lo que no te gusta, y ya aquí van a salir lo que no te gusta es que te pongan la cara en la cámara cuando tú estás en tu teléfono y no estás poniendo atención a lo que la gente va y te dice y te pide. No, pues eso yo no sé, pero están así, literal, están así. They're like this. You're giving your public comment, and it's only one or two that are looking at you and nodding. The rest are on their phone. They're not doing anything. And that is why Mr. Vasquez zooms in on their face. He doesn't go up to the camera. That has never happened. I have never witnessed that.
That's because they don't respect the people who are speaking.
Exactly. They don't respect the constituents. They don't respect the people who put him there in the first place. And they are not there. They have forgotten. Maybe,
Yes.
like you said, maybe their intentions were, yes, let me run. But at the end of the day, like I always say, you look at their campaign reports and look at who's funding them. The political machines from Laredo. And that's why we don't progress. And that's why there's districts in Austin, for example. There's districts in Brownsville that are way more ahead of the game than we are. Why? Because these people that were voted in are not doing their job. And they're afraid that finally, y como dicen así, ¿verdad? Los de Puerto Rico que tienen los cojones, ¿verdad? Alguien vino a decirles, lo estás haciendo mal y aquí está. Now, I want to know as a taxpayer, and I'm going to submit that open request, on what foundation and what basis did they come up with these policies? What cases did they rely on? As somebody who's a research junkie, I want to know a report. Give me a report. Okay, what district? You say across the state. Is it Austin ISD? Because I've been researching today all day, and I haven't found any other district that has implemented that.
I haven't found any either.
No, I haven't. Now, you go into, again, their lack of transparency and their lack of accountability and their lack of just really educating the community in the sense that parents are confused. I've received so many calls today that parents think that UISD has completely banned the videotaping. If I were a board member, and trust me, if I get elected, That's going to be one of the things that I'm going to be doing is educating my constituents on what I'm proving and what I'm denying. Los ves ahí, los viste en el video, approve, yay, nay. O sea, no.
Tan fácil.
Muy fácil, no, dame, edúcame, yo quiero saber por qué. O sea, y luego dicen eso, what did they say? I think it was, I don't know, safety reasons that they're doing for safety reasons. Let's talk about what happened at United High School, the bomb threat. Do you know what happened? They evacuated the kids. I was on the phone with a parent today. They evacuated the kids from, first of all, the parents had no idea about what's going on. Okay? A kid told their mom, we're getting evacuated, this and that, word spread, right? One parent called to the school, no, it's a fire drill. KGNS and the media goes to the school. I have contacts from the media who have told me we were lost. UISD public information was not giving us any information. Parents were calling the newsroom. We had no idea what to tell them because UISD was not giving us information. Parents were paranoid. I live by United, okay? So I would see.
And that's what they're trying to do. They're trying to keep everything a secret.
Everything a secret. And so what happened at United was that they evacuate these kids. Mind you, United has over 2,000 kids, 1,000 kids. It's a big campus. They evacuate these kids. It's a bomb threat, but they evacuate them to the side of the street near the campus. Now,
that's irresponsible.
It's very irresponsible for one. How are you ensuring the safety of our kids there? If it's a bomb threat, you look at Dallas, Houston, Austin, you know what they do? They evacuate the whole school and they evacuate the houses nearby.
Right.
Why? Because if it's a bomb, guess what? Everybody's going to explode there. But what did UISD do? UISD downplayed it once again and had the parents in a complete chaos, not knowing what was happening. And the only source of news was the media outlets that also really didn't know what was going on. That's security. Let's focus on that. Don't focus on this trying to censor an advocacy group who's trying to bring light to what you're doing wrong. Focus on that. You know?
What are your thoughts?
Well, I agree. They've got to have policies and procedures in place how they're going to handle it. But I agree with you 100% that you have to remove people away from the area because the affected area of an explosion, you don't know what it's going to be.
Exactly.
And if you leave people just right near the street area or on the campus grounds, you're still keeping people at risk. But still, I think the parents do have a right to know. And then you get kind of into a fuzzy area because, how much can you really tell them without causing a panic to where all of a sudden you've got 400 parents showing up.
Exactly.
And then, then it gets insane. But there's a balance there. The parents have to know as soon as possible what is going on. But, that's secondary to the first thing, which is to remove everybody off school property to a safe area where they will not be exposed to any possible hazard. But I agree that there has to be, as soon as is reasonable, you got to let people know what's going on. But I'm going to say this, is that once the people are off property, the kids have phones. They can call in. They can call their parents, let them know what's going on. Just say we were evacuated from the school because there was some kind of threat. But to play it down as it's a nothing, that's irresponsible.
It's irresponsible. And not only that, and then you throw in the policy of the banning. I mean, what if something, God forbid, something would have happened? Whoever recorded was going to get in trouble for recording? I mean, come on, look at what happened in the Uvalde shooting. If it weren't for the little girl who had access to her phone, who was calling, I mean, you have to think about the bigger picture. Don't just make this ban because you're upset because somebody's calling you out on what you're doing wrong.
Because they don't feel
Because
safe.
they don't feel safe and they feel harassed. I'm sorry, but
That's irrelevant.
it's irrelevant, really. It is. I mean, you are held to a higher expectation, and you are not supposed to think about yourself or about, for example, Chief Salazar, who is a high-paying administrator, or for those who are in charge of the bus transportation. No, I'm sorry. Think about the bigger picture. okay, if I do this ban and something happens, what are going to be the repercussions, like you said earlier, right?
Yeah.
Now with video is very important as
It's-
evidence.
It's actually been a great protection for people in a variety of situations. If they didn't have this, they wouldn't know what had happened. There would not be a factual account that would be irrefutable, that would come before whatever designees would hear it, courts or whoever. You got to have the right to record. But I have a question since you mentioned that. Does that ban, their new policy, does it restrict the students from recording?
Well,
does
yes,
it-
because they're restricting district employees being recorded. I mean, I know that at school, kids are not allowed to have their phones, right? They get written up and whatnot for
Okay,
having their
okay.
phones. They even have this thing I know at my children's school, where if you get caught with your phone and it's a Friday, the phone has to stay in school over the weekend, and you have to pay like $15 to get it back or
Why?
something. Because it's disruptive to have the phone
No, I
out.
think that they have the burden of proof to demonstrate that what was going on is disruptive. Possession is not disruption. And I think that's very short-sighted.
Well, yes, that's what they do at the schools here in Laredo. But
Wow.
yes, and so you go back to it. I mean, I think that the board and the communications department, they're getting paid a lot of money. Those that are in charge, they need to do a little bit of a better job in informing the community. Coming from somebody who worked in media myself and was a promotions and PSA director, and you name it, you know, education is the key. And if you really send a letter that's like black and white with only the superintendent's signature, no, educate the community. You know what? Come up with a PSA or something. Educate them that you can record at football games, that's still allowed. You can record at any school function, that's still allowed. What they're not allowing is, for example, me as a mom to go into a meeting. Let's say I have a meeting with an IEP meeting, right?
During business hours.
Or yes, during business hours, or a 504 meeting. I'm not going to be allowed to record the meeting.
Then the actual policy is overbroad and vague.
Exactly, and
it's-
that's the
therefore
issue.
it's void.
That's the issue. That's the issue that I have personally, is that the policy that they adopted or that's in place is very vague, and you can circumvent around it.
I'm curious, why don't they employ, let's say, first of all, if you're going to actually attempt to try and legislate something, which is what they're doing, why don't they employ the congressional rules of, examination and the Robert Rules of Order, so that you can go one point here, you get 5 minutes, and they actually make an intelligent vote. But, what I saw in this one meeting here is they completely disregarded oppositional statements to the policy and just said, okay, yeah, we're going to vote for it without any supportive foundation that could be argued against, in a real fashion. And I think that they're, number one, I think they're too big for their britches. I don't think that they have the authority they claim. And I think they're trying to impose their individual will. I don't think it's anything reasonable. They're imposing their will upon people, and they don't have valid attorneys writing the law. So, like, even if you go to the state legislators or city council, what they do is when they draft a statute or a code, they have to review it not by just one attorney, but a variety of attorneys, and they always counterpoint. I didn't hear any of this here. There's no counterpoint. They just said, oh, yeah, hey, let's write this. Do you agree? Yeah, let's remember our feelings. It's like somebody said, okay, this is what I want, and so I feel safe.
Mm-hmm.
Well, you haven't demonstrated why you wouldn't be safe. That's my big concern. When were they harassed? And where were the police involved? Go ahead, Victor.
I want to have a question for you.
Yes.
We discussed a little bit earlier, but you were not here. So what I say is, I think the district's overreaching because we don't work for the district.
Mm-hmm.
How are you going to make a policy for the taxpayer and the parents? They don't work for the district.
And
How
do you
that's
enforce that?
legal?
Yeah. How do you legally enforce
How
that?
you looking enforce that? And what are going to be the punishment? Like I say.
To get a square
So
the
who-
meeting.
Exactly.
and
No, but I say in school because sometimes you need to record because you're gonna make a loss to the school. where's your evidence? You don't have any documentation.
Exactly.
Well, not only that, but I mean, yeah, I have friends who, again, are lobbyists, and I have friends who have actually gone to school and who advocate for students who have autism, dyslexia, any learning disability, and they have these meetings. They have the IEP meetings. They have 504 meetings, and I know out of Laredo, I don't know really anybody here, but I know the people who live in San Antonio and Austin, they're able to take their attorneys and they're able to record. Why? Because we know, right, that for example, I'm talking, just an example. Let's say my child has ADHD, right? I mean, and he has the aggressive side of it. But in my plan, it's written in my plan, right? It's stated there. And by law, there has to be some sort of accommodation. And so I'm not saying that it's okay because, let's say, somebody who has ADHD, it's okay to be aggressive. No, it's not. But if it's recorded, right, if the parent has that in recording, that, let's just say, there's going to be other avenues that are going to go about instead of strictly, let's say, sending the kid to step, I have it recorded. For if an incident happens where my child is involved in an argument or a fight, right? I have that because guess what? My son has an emotional, disorder, and he has a breakdown, and so by law he's protected. So if I'm not able to record that, then guess what happens? It becomes into a he said, she said conversation,
yeah.
And so if you go, and I always compare districts out of Laredo, attorneys are able to go with parents who have children who are in the IEP programs, or they have a plan. You by law are able to have an attorney with you to go to a meeting, and you are able to record that meeting. Just throwing it out there.
But can you by yourself?
By yourself?
Without an attorney?
Yes, you can.
Okay, good.
Yes,
so
you
matter.
can. You can.
Good.
You can record it. Yes, you can absolutely record it. Why? Because at the end of the day, you are your children's advocate.
Okay, so again, if you look at this, we're finding all a variety of scenarios just at first blush that demonstrate that this policy, which is not a law, which doesn't demonstrate affirmative defenses for which is anytime there's a crime committed and you're charged with a crime, if you look at the statute, it says right in there what your affirmative defenses are. So you know what you can rely upon as a general defense for the accusation. Well, they don't offer any of this. They don't offer a reasonable means of, how you're going to defend yourself. They just say, no, that it's just a carte blanche, we kick your ass out.
Yeah.
Well, excuse me, but that's overreaching, that's overbroad. The policy in and of itself has not been ratified through any legislative branch of the government. It has not been analyzed or evaluated by, hey, if the state attorney general wants to look at it, fine. The best he can offer is an opinion. It's not case law. It's not a court ruling. It's nothing more than their opinion. You're still going to have to get a court to get a ruling. So on its face right now, with all the scenarios presented and knowing what we know, just through this short discussion, it's invalid on its face. As we say, it's void ab initio, which means it's without the force and effect of law. You have not written it clearly enough or specifically enough so it covers reasonable scenarios where people can be protected or away from whatever type of punishment that they intend to inflict upon somebody who actually does record. So I think they need to rethink this, and I think they need to act like, responsible, mature people, which we expect as citizens of our public servants. I say "ant" firmly. And so that's what they need to do. Stop offering rhetoric. I don't care that you're confident. What's the factual support for what you're saying?
Exactly.
The lady that was speaking, talking about the jails and all these other places, she's not on point. She's comparing apples and oranges. Let's be on point. Talk about this like responsible adults and citizens to make sure that whatever policies are going to be affected actually have proper argument before the board and amongst each other, so that whatever decision they make, they actually should hear from constituents and not be left to act on their own because they are irresponsible. That is the picture of democracy in action, which is called mob rule, which is called, to all you guys there, and we're going to do what we want.
Yeah.
Okay, it's time to remove you from office, is what I
Yep.
would say, and then use the mechanisms in law to get rid of them if they don't behave themselves. Because I don't go to a meeting when I'm agitated because of your conduct to act professional and be on my good behavior. I'm going to hit you with some zingers. I'm going to let you know because of your misconduct, I'm going to be coming for your position unless you behave yourself. I'm going to find out what kind of other misconduct you've engaged in. I'm going to find out if you have an improper relationship with a contractor that you're getting a kickback from, or somebody in your family is getting a kickback from, or your friends are getting a kickback from, that somehow finds its way back to me for a favor. That's improper positioning for themselves. I'm going to find all this stuff out because you're criminally liable now. And everybody wants authority. Everybody wants responsibility limited to do whatever they want, which is little. But they want authority to do whatever they want, but nobody wants liability for their conduct. That's what we're finding here with these people. They think that they have no liability. The reality is 100% to the opposite. They have liability. We need to hold them accountable. And when they are liable and they function improperly, use the mechanisms of law to come after them. They're not that hard to find, and I'm happy to help. So anyway,
Perfect.
better me
Thank you.
Yeah.
So when we go to the board meeting, right, they say we're not professional, right? When we
and-
talk to them, do we have to find nice words to
No,
say
no, no,
something?
no.
Do
That's
we have to
protected.
like go to a level
No, Cohen versus United
degree
States
of
covers that.
PSD or something to go and talk to them? We cannot talk like like
No,
normal
because that's
people.
restriction of speech.
So
That's called prior restraint of your
so
speech.
if I say this
No.
this sucks, I'm being violating somebody's
No,
I think what's going on here, and we all know it, and it doesn't take a genius to figure it out. I think what's going on here is that they're pissed off. They're pissed. They're pissed because.
Why?
Okay, say why.
Because we have exposed everything they're doing. We, Victor and myself, have visited transportation department, all three of them. We have visited administration. We have visited the police department. We have visited which other department?
areas you have the right to access.
the
and then-
contractors.
yeah.
Like
We
Edgar.
have, we have even visited contractors from
Yeah.
the outside.
Wow.
Not we haven't trespassed or anything, but we have visited many areas and we have
We
documented
take it
tax
pictures
office, including,
of things bad in the school.
and
Wow.
that's what they're trying to
A
prevent.
vote that was
So they're trying to
parked-
prevent the exposure.
Exactly.
No, it's
Yes.
it's funny. Let's talk about that. It's a boat that belongs to the principal, be stored inside the school, the property, for years. Ain't nobody say anything about it.
Oh, does he have a contract with the school?
No, I posted. They took it out, but they got mad
They
about
got
it.
mad.
So then a couple of days ago, we find they had another. It's one of those big
Another
trailers,
trailer.
barbecue, parked behind the police department. So those people don't get in trouble,
Oh,
but
no.
I get in trouble. But I
No,
get in
no,
trouble.
absolutely, they should be held accountable.
Of
Someone,
course.
someone permitted them to put it there. I want to know their name, and I want to know by what authority did you allow them to put that there, and I want to see the paperwork that's required to have anything on that property, because there's paperwork that demonstrates this. I want all these things here, and we're going to have a meeting with you, with the district attorney.
But
Which
it's
you
funny-
better have your attorney there because you don't want to violate your rights specific to the Fifth Amendment.
It's funny
Incriminate
because
yourself.
the trailer for a barbecue trailer was inside the where they parked the patrol cars, so the chief had to see it every day. His trainee guys had to see it every day. Every time they
know
open
that
the
they
door, it's
did.
right there.
But
It's
you
on
see-
video 'cause
but
they got
you see,
surveillance cameras.
Exactly.
it just comes back down to, and that's why it's very important for people to go out and vote and to really not to be afraid of using their voice, because all these issues, it's because people have become complacent. They
Correct.
become complacent, and it's okay because que es tío, es primo, es compadre. No, the law is the law. It's me. If your kid were to get in trouble, they'd come after your kid.
And you better know how to
And
protect and defend them.
and they're not gonna tell you, it's okay, because no, they're gonna come after you. So that's why it's very important as us as a community to really become involved, know your rights, and do not become complacent to this environment of it's because it's always the same thing. No, we have to change the game. We have to really come together and hold those people accountable, because what they're doing is wrong. And you look at all this misuse of funds, and for example, in the Valley, they have an awesome mariachi program. It even came out in Netflix.
Wow.
Why not use that money that they're misusing and have a mariachi program here in Laredo? There is a lot of talent here in Laredo.
I don't know. I don't know if you knew this, but United ISD's taxes are the highest rate in Webb County, and
Wow.
yeah,
They get 46% of our dollar,
Of the tax dollar?
of the tax dollar, of $1. They're the highest taxing entity.
Geez, I would say that you could probably cut the fat out and cut that to about 12%.
Yeah.
And make a refund. I'm going to just say is that they can be held accountable. You have the power of voting. Get out there and vote. When you learn that the way we write the laws as the people, the United States citizens, we have more power in our pinky than the entire United States government. But they don't want you to know this stuff. What I'm talking about, the way I've been talking this evening, every person should know by the time they're 15 years old. I think by the time you're 16, you should be able to run your own federal lawsuit, your own state lawsuit, know how to bring criminal charges, make a criminal complaint anyway through affidavit. You should be able to know how to do all these things. But what they do is they teach, this school system is run by communists. I'm sorry to say it that way, but look at what they believe. They believe in communism. They do not believe in, I'm not even going to use the word democracy because that's the new communism. They do not believe in the foundation of law and the rule of law. They want something completely different. That's terrifying. And so if the people would band together and exercise a proper vote, and I will say this, don't look at party. Look at what they stand for. Look at what they've done if they have a history, and make your votes based on that. Because if we get the right people in office and the wrong people out, even if they're in there and you don't vote them out, there's other ways you can get them out of office, but they need to be individually evaluated and assessed regarding whether or not they're acting in accordance with the law. And if they're like this ridiculous policy is not a law, and they say, oh, it's our policy. Really? I have a policy that's called slap you in the face if I don't like how you look. Does that make it valid? No, because I'm violating all kinds of laws if I do that. That's what they're doing. It's the same scenario. And they don't want to be told because they think they hold an educational degree or a position that the laws don't apply to them. But yo pienso que es incorrecto.
And they just want to be in control. That's what it is. It's a power trip.
It's all about control.
It's a control and power trip.
So we were talking about people want to learn more about the law, how to defend themselves, how to bring up a federal civil rights lawsuit. So how can we do that? Can we
dial 411 for information? No, no. I'm going to say this as a starter because I've literally been involved with teaching tens of thousands of people and have helped thousands and thousands. We've got something out there that's just getting rolling. It's a simple website. Go to gladiusandshield.com. That's gladiusandshield.com. Sign up for the free monthly newsletter. We give you information and show you how you can start defending yourself right now with basic things. If you have a question, you need some assistance, or would you like some guidance or somebody to give you a perspective, go to, Gladys and Shield team at proton.me. Gladius and Shield team at proton.me. Send us an email. We'd be happy to help you out.
So
help you give you some guidance.
We were talking about possibly a seminar.
A
law seminar.
Yeah, we're looking at doing we'll call it a freedom seminar to teach you how the law is written to keep you free, how your rights, how the laws have been written to protect you and keep you secure against the tyranny of oppressive government, and how you can actually stand up against the public servants who've absolutely lost their mind and think they have authorities that they do not have as servants. And remember this, we are United States citizens first, and when we choose to step down to work in the public as whatever public functionary and servant, we agree to support and defend the rights of the people. And they are servants, and they don't like to hear that. A lot of people, I'm going to tell you this, every one of them has an oath of office, or they work under a supervisory oath. Go pull their oath of office. I've had many people say, judges say, oh, I don't know where that is. I said, well, I'll find it for you. In some places, not only do you have to have the sworn oath to the people, sworn publicly, but it must be signed in a certain place, but they have to renew it every year or every 2 years. And if it's not renewed, they don't have official capacity. They're acting as an imposter. So I'm looking at maybe in the next 30 days, I'm going to confirm the location. It might be in San Antonio, but we're going to have a small group. It'll be for a $95 donation. We cover all the materials for you. And I'm going to tell you, when you leave after that day, your head will be so full, information will be spilling out your ear. But I will promise you will be empowered. You'll be more excited than you've ever been, and you're going to have more fun than you've ever had. And you will realize that, man, law is not as hard as I thought it was.
It isn't really.
How much have you learned?
We have somebody who commented and asked, at this point, what is the next best step to take?
Regarding what?
I'm assuming everything that's been discussed, the recording, yes.
Okay, regarding the recording, if I were to make a suggestion, first thing I would do is I would secure the oath of office of every single one of these people that are on the board to make sure they have a valid oath of office and it hasn't been tampered with or doctored. That's the first thing. Next thing, I'd find out how they were put in position, make sure it was done in accordance to law. This is public record information. The next thing I would do regarding what to do regarding this information is I would write a letter of objection to them. And I suppose we could help draft a letter that is kind of a form letter, and people can say, no, I stand in protest of this. This is not valid law, and you cannot enforce policy against the people as law. Otherwise, I'll hold you accountable through a lawsuit. Next step is we get about 1,000 to 2,000 of those to them. They're going to find out how the people really think, and then if they refuse to modify or correct this, then you sue them. And we can help with the drafting of a lawsuit that will help put them in place.
Perfect. Awesome. Thank you for that. So
that's the next step. Those are the next 3-4 steps.
For whoever asked that. And
good question.
Mm-hmm.
Big question.
I'm trying to see who else had a question. Let's see.
You better not start with why or por qué.
Right. Somebody put exactly to make a lawsuit against district, judge and attorneys need evidence, all emails, videos, and other evidence to prove it.
Yeah.
They're violating students' and parents' civil rights. This is unconstitutional. They can't just make their own law. Only UISD is doing that because have unprofessional administrators, staff, and officers too. And I compared to a lot of districts out of Laredo, and kids actually are able to go. People go with their posters, and I don't understand why here in Laredo they don't allow us at UISD. They don't allow us to go
because
in with
nobody's
our posters.
sued him yet. A lawsuit is a big deal. People don't think it's a big deal. When you sue somebody, I would encourage everybody to do this. Of course, you're going to have to hand your phone to the U.S. Marshals when you go through the entry into the main part of the courthouse. Go in there into a federal courtroom and just sit down in the galley and watch a couple of the hearings, whether they're status hearings or whatever's going on that particular day. Sit in there. It is intimidating as hell if you're a defendant. I don't care who you are. If you're a defendant, you are scared poopless. If you're a pro se plaintiff like Ismael is, and I said earlier today, I've looked at a couple of his cases, and I'm telling you, these people are in trouble because they think they have power they do not, and they are defendants in a federal lawsuit. And I won't go over it tonight, but I've seen the effects of the stress to public officials who are defendants in a federal lawsuit. Mm-hmm. It wears them thin. Because you imagine these cases go on for 2 to 5 years. And they're like, every day they wake up in the morning, they're like, oh yeah, great. Oh, I'm a defendant in a federal lawsuit, man. They're suing me in my individual and official capacity. Man, they're taking my stuff. Yeah, well, you know what? If you say you're going to work for us protecting our constitutions, then you better protect them. You better ensure that your conduct protects our rights. Because if you don't, I'm not going to play nice anymore. I'm not going to be professional. I'm not going to be on my good behavior, whatever that is. These things without operational definitions, and give me a break. They use words without definitions. Get yourself, whoever's out there, get yourself a copy of Black's Law Dictionary. I'm partial to the 5th edition because a lot of the appellate court justices, and the Supreme Court justices use that one. But if you want to know what a word means instead of know what the connotation is, 2 parts of this. We talked about this. There's the connotation, which is what we think a word means, and there's the denotation, which is what the actual definition is. Every word, most words have a legal definition. Even the word any has a legal definition. You say, what does the word any mean? Well, I don't know. Any, it actually means at least one. How do I know this? Because I helped defend a case where they brought a criminal complaint against somebody and it says the criminal complaint must be supported by any affidavit, at least one. The Black's Law definition, when we wrote the brief, we used the case law and the definition. It says there's at least one. This complaint has no affidavit. So what's supporting it? It falls into the toilet if it does not have an affidavit. Same thing with a civil complaint. If you do not have a verified complaint, which means you swear that the information contained in that complaint is true to the best of your knowledge, boom, it's an unvalidated complaint, unverified complaint, and it doesn't hold the force of effective law, it's dismissed immediately.
And somebody else commented, stop cutting social study minutes from the curriculum and maybe kids will learn more about law sooner rather than later, which is true.
Yeah, don't blame me.
Yeah.
I would start teaching them this stuff in 1st grade.
My son is a really history junkie, and he has learned more, like you said, on his own than he's learned in school, because in school all they're doing is testing. And teachers have actually, his history teacher last year called me and she told me, I have to tell you that your son, out of all my years of teaching, has been the brightest kid I've met.
Wow.
Because he knows his history, he knows the law,
Bravo,
he knows,
mama.
yes. And so, and he even comes home and he tells me, like, Mom, they don't teach me, you know, but
Why is that?
you go back to, again, you know, it's a whole nother topic. Now, there is a parent who is asking, and this is a very unfortunate situation that actually the grandparent has contacted me about, and they're asking, what can a parent or a grandparent do if she has received a letter forbidding him from attending all tennis events where her or his granddaughter plays at? And so this grandparent has always been very supportive of her granddaughter, and she started going to the meetings and started giving her public comments.
Perfect.
And started emailing the coaches and athletic directors on things that she was seeing that were improper. And guess what happens? They banned her from events.
They retaliated against her.
her. So what can she do? She's asking.
Okay, first thing she can do is you draft a letter, which is basically a letter noticing that whoever issued that reprimand to her and prevented her from doing this, of complaint stating that there's no grounds for this. See, you can't punish somebody without, you know, it's like the same thing in court. You can't punish somebody out without proof that they committed an infraction or a crime. You can't punish them for it, because that's what? That's unequal protection of the law. It's a violation of the 14th Amendment. Now, notice I keep referring back to the constitutional amendments, because those things are God-granted rights that are guaranteed through the Constitution. They're in the amendments. I keep going back to those because everything that these people do, all their conduct, must be in accordance with that, with the Constitution, and specifically the Bill of Rights when they deal with this. So if they're doing something like that, I write a letter of complaint and say, what is the foundation of your reprimand? So always have them prove it. Everything in court, everything in life is all about prove it. Well, not everything in life, but court for sure. You got to prove it. I can't say you owe me $100,000 without being able to prove it, right? But I have known organizations, groups, companies, attorneys that have filed lawsuits against people for $100,000 or more without anybody signing an affidavit stating that they were owed the money. They just sued them in the hope for a default judgment. Well, even that's overturnable. It's false on its face. So that's what I would do first, and then I would give them a limited time to respond. Don't leave these things open-ended. Time frames on everything, and then if they don't respond and they don't correct their action, I'd give them, in this scenario, I'd give them 15 days. If they don't correct that, then I would file a lawsuit against them for unequal protection of the law because they have no foundation. They have no foundation and would be a selective enforcement without anything specific
Exactly.
being in support of it.
And so she did mention I haven't been given any proof for their allegations. And could she sue for emotional distress?
That's part of it. That's called emotional distress. Yeah,
Perfect. Okay. Well, there's
that's
your
one
answer
of
for
that's
the,
actually one of the causes of damage.
Yeah, it's been and it's very unfortunate. And these are the things that really, as somebody who's been a human rights activist and an activist, all in all, it's very sad to see and to witness how she was so proactive during the beginning of the school year and would go up there and would go talk, and then all of a sudden she stopped.
So they've interfered with her First Amendment right. They've also made a prior, well, you could say parts of it are prior restraint, which is First Amendment and 14th Amendment. That alone, I would file a lawsuit against them. And
But I think it's more retaliation than
It's
anything else.
retaliation.
It's retaliation.
It's retaliation.
Yeah,
They do it to us.
yeah, you could use that as foundation for the argument that they retaliated against you, and in so doing, they violated these
Do you know what I
rights.
think? Because they don't want to sit down and talk. You cannot bang somebody to go to someplace for a year. It's not a crime.
Based on what authority?
But like I say, they
See?
apply policy to the taxpayers
But
and
not
to
to
the
themselves. Yes.
It's without the force and
Yes.
effect of law.
exactly.
And this is the big error of judgment these people have. You've got two incompetent attorneys at least, and then there's that other guy who was standing out front giving his rhetorical opinion, talking to the board, giving them the false idea that they have authorities they don't have. They don't have the power they think they have, and just because you provide an opinion, it's just an opinion without providing substantial facts and law to support your position. So yeah, definitely she can pursue him for this.
All right, I
Perfect.
think we should
Okay.
start wrapping it up.
Yes, and so
Okay, sorry.
as far as my conclusion to this, and I want to thank you all for inviting me and letting me be a part of this awesome discussion, an educational podcast, right, to our community. Is I really want to tell everybody that your voice is so powerful, and even if they try to suppress you, and even if they try to silence you, you are protected. You have the right to speak, and you have the right to voice your concern and your opinion, and do not be afraid. Do not be afraid. I know there are a lot of teachers out there who are afraid of retaliation, and that is so sad because we live in the year 2024 in a country where our rights are protected. We don't live in Venezuela. We don't live in another country where
Colombia.
Russia, Colombia, we do not. We live in the United States of America. We are citizens of the United States where we have the power, and our voice is so powerful that when it comes down to election, early voting is October 21st, election day is November 5th. Really use your voice and go out and vote. Like it was mentioned here before, don't go through a party, Democrat, Republican. No, vote for who you really believe and think that is going to best represent you, who is not going to be afraid to go up there and speak on your behalf. Really take a look and take a deep dive into who is funding their campaigns. Okay, I myself, like I have said before, I am my own campaign. My husband is the one funding my campaign. Really grassroots, doing it all on my own, again, because I do not want to owe political favors to anybody. And I have been approached by people who have told me, I will pay your posters, I will pay your, and I've said, I'm sorry, No, because I've been in the political world far too long and I don't want it to affect me later on where I owe you something. So guess what? I rather use my savings and I rather work and pay my own stuff. Even if you don't see all of my signs right now, they're going to come little by little. But really educate yourself and really see who is funding their campaigns. Same for District 1, for Ismael. Really look at the candidates. Who is really going to best represent you? Is it going to be somebody who's going to be behind the phone being afraid to speak? Is it going to be somebody who goes to the meetings, as in my district, who goes to the meetings but doesn't go up to the board? No. Vote for somebody who's going to fight for you and who's going to be there for you. And who is that going to be? It's going to be me. It's going to be me, and I have fearlessly proven myself throughout this year. Even today, I went to the city council meeting, to the planning and zoning commission meeting, to advocate for the students of our community. And like I've said before, again, your voice is powerful. Y rapidito en español, este noviembre 5 tienen que salir a votar, porque si no votan, no va a haber cambio. Y su voz es tan poderosa que, como les he dicho muchas veces, vas a Target, tienes tu cuenta de $102, pero nada más traes $100, la dependiente no te va a dejar ir sin pagar esos $2. Esos 2 votos son bien importantes. Tu voto, el voto de tu esposo, el voto de tu hija, vayan a votar y es la única manera en que va a haber cambio en el distrito escolar y en la ciudad de Laredo. Todo mundo quiere decir, porque no hay cambio, siempre es lo mismo. Bueno, salgan a votar. No se tarda ni más de 10 minutos. Y de nuevo, soy su candidata Danielle Dianelli Martínez para el distrito 7 de UISD, de la mesa directiva escolar del distrito de United, y les pido su apoyo y de nuevo infórmense, realmente se tienen que informar, edúquense de quién está corriendo y quién está realmente dando dinero a los candidatos que ahorita están corriendo. That's all.
Excelente.
Thank you, Ms. Daniele Martinez, for District 7. UISD District 7 board member. And I want to thank Mr. Gutierrez for coming with us today. It has been very, very informative. It has been very informative. I believe we have learned a lot. I believe we have learned a lot today regarding procedures, regarding policies. The words have meanings, procedures, and all that. We have learned a whole bunch, and I want to thank also Mr. Victor Vasquez for not quitting. I mean, when we met, I mean, we had a common purpose,
Yes, sir.
and which is transparency, accountability, and trust, which is what I'm standing for. I'm running also for United ISD District 1, and I think that we're lacking accountability, and we've all seen that. We've been lacking accountability for forever, ever since I can remember. Transparency. We just found out yesterday the lack of transparency. They passed a no recording policy. So where's the transparency? There's no transparency. If there's no transparency, there is no trust. How can we trust them if they're telling us do not record us or do not document anything we're doing? So that's what I stand for. Accountability. I'm sorry for my English. Accountability, transparency, and trust. I stand for that, and I haven't seen any of the candidates attend the board meeting or standing up for the students, for the teachers, or for the community. So I'm also asking for your vote. And remember, Ismael Rincon, UISD District 1. UISD District 1. Remember, accountability, transparency, and trust. That's what I stand for. Also, remember, register for your free newsletter, as Mr. Gutierrez was saying, gladiusandshield.com. Gladiusandshield.com. Register for your free newsletter. And remember, there's a seminar. We're putting in place a seminar pretty soon, very soon. So I'll update you on a date for that. And if you want to learn more about the law, about the procedures, how to file, how to defend your case, how to file a civil rights lawsuit, register. It's very informative. Gladiusandshield.com. So that's all I have to say. Mr. Vasquez, you have something to say?
Well, thank you for joining us tonight. I know it's been a long night for us over here.
3 hours.
Exactly. You can see it later. Yes, like I said, we about transparency. A lot of things going in the district, like they slash half of the workforce of the police department, USD police department, to give the pay raise of $6,000. I don't say they don't deserve the money, but it's something you should know because when they passed the budget, it was not mentioned the budget, so we don't know when they voted for that. So they're opening a lot of high position pay. Supposedly that was in the budget too, and nobody knew about it. So the lack of transparency, like everybody's asking, where is money coming from? We owe we owe, I think it's $9 million. I think it's more than that. They also told it's 9 million, but I think it's more than 9 million. And we're still working on the $52 million that Enrique Rangel said that the TechStar is gonna pay UISD. So I'm gonna have to get back on that so I can tell you exactly if it's gonna happen or not. For me, it's not gonna happen because so far the document I've been receiving by TechStar doesn't say anything they're gonna do it. And when I requested for the district, also doesn't say that the actual meeting happens. And you're gonna offer somebody to give it $52 million, you have to have some kind of document, something on writing, and say, they told me, not say the word of the mouth. Yeah, they say they agree. And that's what happened that meeting. Everything was they agree, but there was nothing on black and white. And believe me, I think the taxpayer, we're gonna start paying for those $52 million, and nothing gonna happen to the guy who lied or say something different, but we gonna pay the consequences. Okay, so thank you. I'm gonna pass it to Mr. Gutierrez.
Yeah, órale. Thank you for letting us share this evening with you guys. It's been an honor and a privilege. I hope that it's been beneficial to you, and I hope you stand up. Just standing up makes all the difference. I want to thank Mr. Rincon and Victor and Daniela for being here with them. It's been a great joy and a pleasure and privilege. And vote right. Vote right. Vote for Ismael and vote for Daniela. Support Victor. Victor is a brilliant man. He's got a lot of great points. And you need to listen to your locals because they're not the ones that are highly celebrated or obvious like some of the politicians, but they're the ones that are the sound, clear mind and voice behind rational thinking, what we need to do to protect our country and our civil liberties. So thank you again. I hope to see you in the future. If you want to come to that seminar, I'm telling you what, it's going to be a blast. Go to gladiusandshield.com and register for the free newsletter. I promise you, there's some freebies in the first newsletter that's going to empower you or somebody you know immediately. Inmediatamente ustedes pueden aprender un poquito más. Pero la poquito que ustedes aprenden cambia su mundo. So, buenas noches, hablaremos.